Good evening, friends, and welcome to episode 1 of The Effects of Gravity. My name is Deborah Sunea Moore, and I'm so pleased to be your host this evening. I am someone who was fortunate enough to meet David Gonzalez many years ago. I myself am a teaching artist. I am a percussionist. My position in the world is I'm vice president of performing and visual arts at Chautauqua Institution in Chautauqua, New York. I'm also a teaching artist with the Kennedy Center, and I am always on the lookout for meaningful art and meaningful artists. And David Gonzalez, as you probably know, is one of those. I believe that I first met David Gonzalez at APAP, which we lovingly call the Arts Presenters. It's the Association of Performing Arts Presenters. And I had always heard about David's work, and one year was lucky enough to get to see it. From that point on, Chautauqua Institution was able to present a show of David's, and we not only had the show, but we had David come as a teaching artist for all students with and without disabilities. And I've been deeply interested in his work since then and have been following what types of projects David might have coming out. One of the things that really struck me is that David is not just a performing artist. He is a teaching artist. He is a creative artist. David is an advocating artist. And this project, which all of us are about to see a demo of, is something that is also featuring him as a collaborative artist. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see what 3 artists are up to. And I'm excited for you to learn with me about the effects of gravity. So a couple of things before we see this demo together. You'll see I have my earphones in, and I'm going to encourage you to put in some type of headphone because you are going to hear the audio much more clearly if you are able to do that. So while you grab your earbuds or your headphones, I'm also going to let you know that we are able to see your comments tonight through Facebook Live. So I would love to see your comments. I would love for you to ask questions for the artists. I will relay those to all of us watching tonight and would just really love to have that conversation with you. So grab your earbuds, settle in, and join me in watching this brief demo of the effects of gravity.
The Milky Way galaxy, our solar system, our planet Earth, and life itself have their origins in and are sustained by the effects of gravity. In this image, we look deep into the night sky beyond the Milky Way to other galaxies. The red objects are some of the most distant in our universe. We see them as they were 1 billion years after the Big Bang launched the expansion of the universe. It was not big or a bang, though. Our universe started vanishingly small and intensely luminous. Let's call that moment what it really was, the small flash. The moving images we are about to experience are computer simulations based on astrophysical data, direct observations of our cosmic origins. The simulations represent how the galaxies formed. When models like these match what we actually observe in the universe, we call them accurate. They have predictive power. A large chunk of the universe, millions of trillions of miles wide, begins with a foggy web of dark matter and gas. Shortly after the small flash, and evolves into galaxies like those we observe in the present time. Colors begin with shades of blue indicating density of dark matter. Dark because gravity tells us it's there, but we just can't see it. We then see the colors change to indicate the density of luminous, normal matter, like hydrogen, helium, and the rest of the atoms. Galaxies form where density is highest and the effects of gravity are strongest.
Multiverse. Space-time flows through solar storms and the bones of this body. The atoms in these fingers and the pixel-scribed words they set on the page are saturated with radiation from the instant of cosmic beginning. These very words, spoken aloud in this warm room on this frosty January night, echo into infinity. Let every poet study the stars. Let every astronomer be a lyricist. Let's start again. Let's return to the gnarly questions, to the straight facts, to the fractal flux where this universe and the universe are one. Somewhere in this, may revelation begin.
Earth is here. We are here, as a direct result of hydrogen atoms left to do what atoms do under the influence of gravity over vast stretches of time. The scientific and aesthetic appreciation of what it took to form us, our Earth, our solar system, our galaxy, and over 2 trillion other galaxies, enables a grasp of our cosmic origins, reminding us that we are small and also vast and powerful effects of gravity.
Hello, friends. I hope that you were able to see the fascinating video that I just saw. The music is amazing. I have many questions for the artist myself, but I hope that you too will submit some comments and questions. I understand that a few of you may not have been able to see the video, but many of you did. So please know that we are going to put the link in to make sure that that is available for you. But let's talk a little bit about these artists so that you can hear more about the brains and the minds and the creativity behind the effects of gravity. David Gonzalez is a nationally touring poet, musician, and storyteller. A fellow of the Joseph Campbell Foundation, David has relieved numerous commissions. He's received numerous commissions and awards. His doctoral dissertation studied the intersection of improvising music and mythology with a psychotherapeutic context. Álvaro Domene is a Madrid-born, New York-based guitarist and composer operating at the convergence of various styles of contemporary creative music. His sound and compositions are influenced by the jazz and Western contemporary classical traditions, as well as metal music. He's released 12 records as a leader and co-leader and is an active performer in New York's fertile music scene, leading various groups in addition to working with many different artists. He's performed and taught internationally and recently worked with many different artists: Joe McPhee, Carl Berger, Elliott Sharp, Vinny Golia, Henry Kaiser. The list goes on, to name a few. In addition, Álvaro co-runs Illuso Records, an independent record label dedicated to support and disseminate creative new music. He's also the artistic director at the Singularity Music Series in Kingston, New York. So we have these amazing artists here. And oh, you know what? My apologies. I don't think I introduced you to Luke yet. Luke Keller is a professor of physics and astronomy at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. I heard us talking about the multiverse, and I kept thinking, I have so many questions for Luke. But of course, we want you to have questions for Luke as well. Luke, his astrophysics research focuses on the formation of stars and their planetary systems. So I just know you're going to have questions for Luke and David and Álvaro. But first, I would like to invite the artists to come on screen with us. So Luke, Álvaro, David, come join us.
Hey.
Hi.
Howdy.
I just found out that we're having a little technical difficulty about getting linked in to the live link. I just put another link up on my Facebook page. So anybody's having trouble, send it around and we'll get this right. Anyway, thanks so much for having us. Hey guys, Luke, where are you?
I'm sitting here in my workshop in Ithaca, New York. Hey.
And Deborah, where are you?
I'm coming to you from Chautauqua, New York, just a couple hours away from Luke. So, we'll have to get together for virtual coffee.
Yeah. And I know where Álvaro is. We live right nearby each other. I'm in a little town called High Falls, and Álvaro is in Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, we're so happy to gather, and thank you for the lovely introduction, Deborah. The effects of gravity is a work in progress. We had the design to create a live performance piece that combines music, poetry, and all of it centered around and grounded in astrophysics. And we did a few workshops, one at Ithaca College, one at my studio, and suddenly COVID hit. We were about to do a big gig at a conference, everything shut down. So we've been working hard to continue our creative process. As a poet, I've always been inspired by the stars. Which poet isn't? I was thinking today, like, why is it important now? There's so many earthly concerns, social justice concerns, climate concerns, you name it, let alone the pandemic. Why are we spending time looking up? And I couldn't help it. I was watching today the landing of what they called a Dragon crew from the space station, and the wonder of possibility, the human exploration. But also for us, and for me as a poet, I think this project helps us to value our earthly existence. And therefore, I think to me personally, it motivates me to want to care for this existence that we have. When I expand my frame of reference to the stars and beyond, to cosmological phenomena and the time periods, that's when I truly feel the miraculous nature of this existence that we have. So anyway, I found these brilliant collaborators, and I hope people will enjoy and participate with us as we go forward in our live stream.
So one of the lessons that we've learned through the centuries of scientific exploration is that there are many size scales, from smaller than atoms to larger than galaxies, and they're all significant. And we live somewhere in between those extremes. And that's what we're trying to help inspire, an aesthetic appreciation of the scientific process by integrating art with science.
Did you call it a size? What did you call it?
Size scale.
Size scale.
Scale, yeah.
Oh, I see. I think it's psi, PSY. So you just get like whack on us, but I get it now.
And Álvaro, I have a couple of questions I'm dying to ask all of you, but did you want to weigh in on the project before we get started with questions? And I think we need to unmute you here.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Hi, Álvaro.
Hi, how are you? So, yeah, as the composer and musician, in the project. My contribution to the show focuses on exploring the relationship between sound, cosmological imagery, and our imagination. That's where I start. And my goal is to generate sounds as an interpretation of the phenomena that is represented in these beautiful video models that we have. The chaos, the geometry, all the shapes, structure, and textures, all those elements that are inherent in them compel me to generate both pre-composed and spontaneously created musical spaces. So I compose at home, and I also compose in real time when I am on stage with these guys. I've been always fascinated by the universe, and I'm very, very inspired by the question of how my music may evoke cinematically the contrast between the dark and the light that is, again, inherent in all these processes. And yeah, I'm very excited, very, very lucky, and very grateful to be part of this, involved in this project with these two beautiful people. So, and looking forward to getting it, back on stage where it belongs.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you don't mind me saying, it sounds like the stars aligned to bring the three of you together. I know, that was bad. That was
low hanging, but we'll take it.
I know. I'm sorry. I had to go there. So Álvaro, let's stay on you for a minute. Will you tell us a little bit about how the creative process worked with your team during the pandemic?
Okay. Well, I think I will speak for the three of us. I think I can. Saying that our goal is to integrate art and science while preserving the integrity and value of both ways of approaching and appreciating the universe. So basically, the first step of our process is to have good, deep discussions about the physics. Obviously, those discussions are led by Luke, and David and I, really learn and try to internalize these sometimes very complex concepts and processes, so that we can then start our part. And all these things usually are happening over wine and food. So that's that's how we start.
That's great. Well, I'm definitely coming to the next one. That next brainstorming session, count us all in. But David, will you talk to us a little bit about, so Álvaro was talking about this creative process. So let's fast forward and go to, as the project comes into view, who do you feel the audience for this is? Who are you trying to reach with the effects of gravity?
I think that almost everyone looks up at night. And that sense of wonder. So yeah, I want to say everybody, but actually what we're targeting is performing art festivals, and especially those that are centered at universities, because we have a lot of, I call it sort of residency ideas, workshops that we can do. But I think at the university performing arts centers, there's going to be an interdisciplinary focus from the jump. Kids and students are taking classes in the arts and the sciences and the humanities, and this project really gathers those together. So that's what we would like to do, plus festivals that have broad interdisciplinary approaches to their programming. I can see that this would also work for youth in certain contexts. We could change perhaps some of the text, but I think that, at least for me, this work is what I might call, forgive the whatever, I don't want to say what it is, but it's kind of a secular religion, in that the components of, there's sort of a secular liturgy in these images. When we see them, we're compelled to want to understand. We're also compelled with wonder and excitement. We reframe our sense of who we are when our world opens. So I think that young people today, where there's a lot of curiosity about meaning in a world that's changing so fast, I think something like this would work really well as well. So yeah, that's where I'm thinking. We had a gig at a big at an arts and education festival at Manhattan College at the end of March. We were all geared up toward, but we moved our process online. So we have kind of essentially weekly meetings. We all got green screens. We're all trying to figure this out. Luke ramped up with video editing. We're all like everybody trying to figure out how to go from 3 dimensions into 2 dimensions, but still keep sort of the heart and soul of it alive.
Well, I love that you're trying to keep that heart and soul. And I have to say that a lot of it, not knowing what it was going to originally look or feel like, a lot of what I saw in that intro definitely compelled me to wonder, as you would say. And those images just really draw you in. So Luke, I bet you are the person for us to ask, where do these images come from? How are you finding these?
So the images and the video are scientific models. These are astrophysical models. Some of the most recent that we have that describe and picture our current understanding of the universe. So they're not special effects in the sense that they're based on physical analysis. They're based on actual observations with telescopes. Some of the images are images from the Hubble Space Telescope, for example. And the moving images are simulations of what it would look like if we could fast forward the Hubble Space Telescope to show us millions of years per second.
I love that. And I just want to shout out that people are probably seeing some of our Facebook comments are coming up. I want to definitely encourage people to send in questions if you have questions. But we are going to take a little pause in the conversation, because now that Luke's told us, this is not just art, this is real science. These are real images, some of them from the Hubble. We definitely want to go to a video and see more of this work. So we will come back to you. Oh, David, I see you're wanting to say something. Let's hear.
I just want to give a quick introduction to this next video.
So
part of our online process has been to develop the piece, what we call episode by episode. And so what we're going to show today is episode 1. It's called Galactic Merger. And this is part of our creative process. We're already working on episode 2. And over the course of the next few months, we'll continue to build the piece and share it this way. So this is our first episode, Galactic Merger.
Mutual gravitation between our Milky Way galaxy and our galactic neighbor Andromeda pulls them together from a separation of over 2 million light years. That's 12 million trillion miles. The two will begin a dance we call the Galactic Merger in about 4 billion years. Tiny dots composing each galaxy in this simulation represent stars, 100 billion of them. As they fall into one another, the galaxies pull, warp, and distort. Soon, they will appear to fragment and then become one. Because of the vast distances between individual stars, none will collide. But gas clouds between the stars do collide, and this will cause new stars to form. So while the galactic merger may look violent from a distance, the interaction will be a gentle and germinal effect of gravity.
Somewhere in the cosmos, 88 years old, she sits at the dining room table, as quiet as a constellation. Teaspoon by teaspoon, her memory disperses into oblivion. Playing whirly-word on her iPad, in the jumble of letters she finds air, hair, chair, then spins again for a new jumble. For 5 hours a day, this is the entirety of my mother's fleeting world. She'd been in Saigon in '68. She'd trekked the Siberian tundra. She dove the Great Barrier Reef, shopped Parisian couture. She spins the wheel, ill, till, still, and reminds me for the 1000th time that life is a dream. She partied in Ibiza, skied the Italian Alps, rolled on ecstasy, bowed to her guru in India, spins the wheel, ace, pace, space. No, really, life is a dream. In 4 billion years, home galaxy will collide with Andromeda. But the apparent catastrophe won't trouble even a single blade of grass, won't dither whatever bio-cyber consciousness survives this cycle of infinite extinctions. They will approach. They will interact with spectacular gravitational dynamics, two becoming one. The way that true lovers caress changed everything forever. She spins the wheel. Dear Madre, dream.
Álvaro, Luke, and David, thank you. Excited to talk about this. So at one point, Luke, when you popped up on the video, you mentioned that it does not look like it would be gentle. And you're right. To me, I thought, well, they called it galactic merger, but it looks like galactic collision. So talk to us a little bit about the science behind this. How is there no collision here?
In the video, the galaxies look like these wispy bodies, and there doesn't appear to be very much space within them. But in reality, they are so large, and they're composed of stars, and there's mostly empty. They're mostly empty. So you could imagine my two hands passing through one another, and my fingers just sort of weave in between one another, and they never actually collide, but they interact. So the effects of gravity are that the galaxies, you may have seen that they come together, they pass through one another, they go apart, but then they come together again and finally merge.
Yeah, it was this fascinating image, that one where you see one actually going up and through, which is
right.
Stunning.
So their structure is definitely altered, and the reality is altered, but there are probably no actual collisions between stars in the entire process.
It sounds so human what you're talking about. Their structures are altered, but there's no collision. And I thought, if only we could get through life that way, right? Just altered a little, but no collision. Álvaro, I love when we could actually see you as you're creating this soundscape. Can you tell us a little bit about the sounds from your guitar and what you're actually doing to create that? And we just need to unmute you again.
Sorry. I have the AC blasting, so I was trying to avoid that. The secret is guitar pedals. I have a few stop boxes that help me deal with pitch and time in multiple ways. So what I do is I process what I'm playing with my feet. So I'm playing something at the same time. Half of what I'm doing is going through these devices, and depending on what I'm using, I'm dealing with pitch. So I'm shifting pitches, and if you're listening with headphones, you could probably hear all these kind of clouds of notes and stuff that bloom and do those kinds of things. Also echoes that have different rhythmic subdivisions and things like that. So it's just me playing, but depending on what I'm doing with my feet, I'm activating external aid that help me, generate tons of sounds, and I could just do that for hours.
Well, there's all sorts of creation going on here.
Right. The first time I heard Álvaro play, I was so struck by how he uses his feet as much as he uses his hands. So I gave him a little nickname, which is pulpín, which is short for pulpo. Which is short for pulpo. Pulpo is an octopus, so he's like a little octopus because you can see his hands and feet going all the time. Hey, it looks like we got some questions there. That's a cool question, Luke. What would you say to that?
Yeah, from Rick Warren.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, so we hear all the time, right, that the distant galaxies are moving away from us because the universe is expanding. The expansion of the universe is amazing. It's a profound effect. And if the galaxies happen to be relatively close to one another, the effects of gravity overcome the expansion of the universe. So Andromeda is the closest galaxy to our own galaxy, and therefore gravity overcomes the expansion. So they are actually approaching one another. They're falling into one another. But the distant galaxies are all expanding away.
It looks like we have one more for David.
What were you writing while you were watching the visuals and listening to the music? Actually, yes and yes. It wasn't one or the other. The videos, of course, were really more compelling. But again, like Álvaro said before, we had so many questions to Luke. What is actually going on here? And we had to get learn a lot about how things work in space and what really the effects of gravity are. So yeah, I drew a lot of inspiration from the imagery, and also I've known Álvaro for a number of years now, so I just put his music on, and let's just call it spacey. But it really inspires me as well. That last poem, I just spent some time with my mother, and I hope you're watching, Mom. Love you.
We love you too, Mom.
Yeah. And my mother always reminds me that life is a dream. Life is a dream. Life is a dream. And she's 88 years old. And I don't think she would have said that at 50 or maybe even 60. But now I think with the long view, which I think is like there's a parallel to seeing these galaxies merge. We get a perspective, and I think with my mother's perspective on time, the dreamlike quality, how people and events, how all things come, all things go. There's this dreamlike quality. It is a dream and it's not a dream. It is soft and it is hard. We do intersect, but we don't. Like all those things are going on in the writing as well, just trying to make sense of it. It's so easy to be sort of like, I just was trying, whenever I write these poems about cosmological phenomenon, to bring it back home. And for me, this was about my mom and how here we have this image of these galaxies colliding. And then my mother just talking about life as a dream, just trying to bridge those spaces. So, yeah.
So, David, in honor of your mom, I feel like I have to ask you. You talked about her writing on her iPad, and right before that, you said Whirlyword. So
Whirlyword.
Tell us about Whirlyword. What is this?
Whirlyword is this game. It's kind of like a word spelling game. So you get a jumble of words, and then you can connect it, and it's like that. And I think my mother is like the world champion Whirlyword player at this time, like hundreds of thousands of stars. So yeah. And
I can see youth connecting to this. It's interesting to hear your mom's doing that on her iPad, because my kids do spelling bee, which is another one of those, you draw the letters together, you make the connections. So I can see that happening in the multiverse of music and poetry and science here. You've got a comment from Mark Stephen Brooks down below.
What does he say? Un sueño. Hey.
Sueño.
Sueño. It's a dream in Spanish. It's sweet.
Ah. Well, so maybe someone could, before we go to that, we've got a question here from Alexander. What other types of footage do you think you'll use? Maybe that's for Luke.
Yeah, so we have simulations coming up that are from the Illustris collaboration, which is a collaboration of several international collaboration of universities like MIT, Cambridge, Max Planck Institute in Germany. And that will be simulations of the formation of the universe, the formation of the galaxies that we just saw interact. Where did they come from? We also have simulations of star formation from the University of Exeter in the UK from Matthew Bate, who's an astrophysicist there, and also simulations of the formation of solar systems, just like our solar system.
So maybe this is for David, but will you talk a little bit about the context? So why start with this episode, and what can we look forward to expecting?
Well, I think we could all chime in on this a little bit.
Great.
We actually created the whole piece back in January. We did it at my studio. It was a work in progress. That's a bunch of friends over. And so we had 45 minutes of content back then. When we decided to do this online virtual workshop development process, we chose the Galactic Merger, I think because the imagery was so cool.
I totally agree.
It's kind of like just so spectacular. There's a lot of spectacular imagery, though we were all just like, I think it was more just kind of intuition. Like it just felt right. Luke, Álvaro, do you have anything you want to add to that? To me, it was just really kind of gritty.
Yeah, I agree. I think it seemed like an obvious choice. For me personally, it was a lot of fun because the mere idea of the two galaxies almost destroying each other or colliding immediately started evoking lots of musical ideas. So yeah, it's when I saw the video, I said, let's start with this one.
Yeah, in many ways, this video among those that we're going to be presenting is the simplest. In that it's a merger of two objects, and and therefore it can be very complex with the interpretation. So it basically, from my perspective, it left us a lot of flexibility in this first episode, where we're getting our heads around being online instead of on stage.
Yeah, because there's a huge difference, you know. This is something that has to be experienced in person.
Well, Luke, Stanton has a question for you, asking how often do such mergers occur? And I just have to say, I swear you're talking about people, but you keep telling me you're a scientist. So why don't we talk about this scientifically?
So these mergers are happening all the time. We have, but the video that we saw was several billion years in just a few minutes. So it's happening from our perspective as humans. When we look out into the universe, we see snapshots. We see two galaxies just sort of sitting there close to one another, or actually in the process of merging. But they're everywhere. It's happening all the time. And the reason is because galaxies are in groups, and groups attract one another because of the force of gravity.
And Silvio, What a beautiful statement. Lovely metaphor for minds and consciousness melding and dancing with each other and creating new forms and beings. Yes, Silvio, you see these images and you hear these artists talk about it and you think, well, it's up in the sky. But again, it all feels so human. And I keep going back to David talking about the wonder of it, that somehow looking up helps us explore our own humanness even more. Well, I know that you have a video that you'd like to leave us with, but I just want to emphasize what everyone is seeing on screen here, that we have another live stream on August 30th. So I'm excited to see what these three come up with. And before we sign off and go to the video, I just wanted to invite any of you, are there any closing thoughts that you want to leave us with tonight?
Well, I want to say thank you to you, Deborah, for being such a wonderful host and agreeing to help us
thanks so much.
Launch this.
Yeah, thank you, Deborah.
Well, I have the easy part. I'm just having fun.
Well, you're doing it really well. It really helps. I just wanted to say that the Chautauqua Institution is a phenomenal place. And the video that we want to show is the incredible work that you all are doing at Chautauqua, pivoting at this critical juncture to keep your institution alive and to continue to share all the beautiful things you do. Folks, if you haven't heard of Chautauqua, you ought to. If you haven't been there, do visit. At the virtual space they have now is fantastic. For me, it's a place I always wanted to visit. When I got there, it just blew my expectations. Imagine a kind of social utopia that combines art, spirituality, social justice, a beautiful lake, and really kind and creative people collaborating over the course of a wonderful summer season. So I also want to make a thank you to our producer, Bruce Berkey, who's in the background helping us put this show together. I'm going to ask Bruce to bring in our closing video, which will be about the Chautauqua Institution. And I wonder if anybody else wants to say anything before we go.
Looking forward to our next episode.
Yeah,
Right,
me
so
too. Also, Black Lives Matter, by the way.
Indeed, we do.
I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. And I think I just wanted to offer a thank you to the three of you. I just know whether you're an artist or you're a scientist, we all have lots of questions right now and lots of uncertainty. And I just have to tell you that I find it comforting and inspiring to see the work going on and the exploration continuing. So thanks for doing that on all of our behalfs. Thank you for this work, and we look forward to seeing what comes next for the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to CH2 Assembly. CH2 Assembly is the digital expression of Chautauqua Institution, where you can explore the best in human values and the enrichment of life through a new multidimensional online experience. You're invited to explore critical issues of the day through a range of experiences that combine to call you to your best self for a better world. View all new lectures, live events, and performances available on all
and go to the next video
devices. Enroll in master and enrichment courses in your online classroom. Engage in conversations on the virtual porch. Explore artistic experiences through the Chautauqua Visual Arts. Your exploration takes place in a community of trust, committed to upholding the dignity and contributions of all people. As outlined in our community guiding principles, we invite all CHQ Assembly participants to explore difference with respect. Prioritize listening in order to understand. Assume good faith on the part of all participants. Encourage the practice of empathy. Facilitate equity of voice. And appreciate vulnerability. CHQ Assembly is your gateway to a more expansive online Chautauqua experience that offers year-round access to lectures, artistic experiences, master and enrichment courses, and conversations. We invite you to take part in this worldwide community of lifelong learners and lovers of the arts, education, interfaith, and recreational programming. Welcome to CHQ Assembly.